introduction of a consumption tax would hit those on low incomes and pensions the hardest, and claims even the government's white paper on tax admits it's impossible to compensate everyone. With this in mind, he says it's important to identify and help those he'd call the forgotten people of the white paper, pensioners with children, the long-term unemployed and those in private rental. Louise Marr, Macquarie National News, State Parliament.
3 men have been committed for trial in the Brisbane Magistrates Court on charges relating to the fine cotton ring-in. John Phelan reports evidence concerning another defendant is being considered overnight.
Magistrate Brian Connors says a case has been established against 38-year-old Hayden Haitana of South Australia, 39-year-old John Fraser Dixon and 33-year-old Robert Roy North, both of Brisbane. All 3 are charged with conspiring to defraud the Queensland Turf Club between May and August of last year and relate to the substitution of bold personality for fine cotton in a race at Eagle Farm on August the 19th. Dixon and Haitana are also charged that on August the 18th they falsely pretended with intent to defraud that bold personality was fine cotton. The 3 men are due to face trial in the Brisbane District Criminal Court starting on the 15th of July. They've been released on bail of their own undertaking. The committal hearing of similar charges against Tommaso De Lucio of Brisbane has been completed and a decision will be announced tomorrow afternoon. The other man charged, John Patrick Gillespie of the Gold Coast, has not appeared in court and therefore no evidence has been presented concerning the part he's alleged to have played in the fine cotton affair. John Phelan, Macquarie National News.
News time is 7:05. Mike Beattie's Sydney weather. Cold overnight with a few early frosts and fogs. Then a cool, mainly sunny day. Winds moderate to fresh from the west. Seas choppy in the afternoon on a low swell, and there's a strong wind warning current for coastal waters south from Point Perpendicular. Expected temperatures for the city 9 to 19, Liverpool 7 to 19, and Richmond 3 to 19. Right now it's 15 degrees, 1 above average. Humidity is 61%. The wind is from the northwest at 3 kilometres an hour. It's 7:06. I'm Andrew Robertson, 2GB News Talk 87 with more Macquarie National News after we win the State of Origin.
Wake up and smile with the Mike Carlton Morning.
Well, now you see it, now you don't. That was the government's preferred position today, otherwise known as My God, How the Money Rolls In, with the widest range of exciting new taxes since Louis XIV. Thank you. Well, if you look at the footnote to Appendix B on page 237, subject to integrity and my duty to the nation.
Yeah, well, the footnote to Appendix B. I mean, what about lunch? That's what I want to know about. What about me expense account lunch? Well, it's a scandal, ain't it? Look here, Shorty. Oi, Shorty, come in here. Tell him what it's all about, eh?
Yeah, it's very serious. In fact, I'd say it's very serious, and I'm putting it to you.
Oh, God,
Pete.
love a duck. Yeah.
There is a serious side too. Mike Carlton, 5:30 to 9 a.m. weekdays on 2GB News Talk 87.
Remember that really clever superannuation plan I set up?
What, the one where the company borrowed back most of the money put in?
Yeah, well, my accountant tells me I've got real problems.
Oh.
I've got to pay a whack of interest, make the fund legit, and start paying proper contributions all by the end of June.
The 30th of June? Hello, I'm Sam Leon. My company specialises in this problem. We do all the paperwork and set you up with a rock-solid fund with really low management charges. So just call me on 235 0055. 235 0055.
What will you do when you win the $1 million lottery?
I'll put in a huge swimming pool, something about the size of Sydney Harbour.
Oh, yeah, with an opera house for a cabana.
Right.
Look, when I win the $1 million lottery, I think I'll need a cold shower in Monte Carlo.
The first thing I'll do is buy a one-way ticket for my boss.
When I win the lottery.
To the North Pole.
When I win the lottery. It's a better bet, and I know how much I'll get. When I win the lottery.
What will you do when you win the lottery?
The New South Wales lottery.
There'll be no more Mr. Nice Guy.
We asked people if they thought they were getting enough.
Excuse me, sir. Are you getting enough?
You bet I am, eh? Can't you tell?
Pardon me. Are you getting enough?
I didn't used to, but I certainly am now. And I tell you, I feel a whole lot better.
Thanks to Fibergel, more and more people are finding out just how easy it is to get enough. They're drinking 1 sachet of all-natural Fibergel fibre supplement at breakfast, which gives their bodies the additional 40% of fibre that's lacking in most people's diets. You can find out how good it feels to get enough just by asking your chemist to tell you about Fibergel Regular or Fibergel Orange.
For the businessman or woman who has everything but the world's best word processor, here's a golden opportunity from Business Word. At Business Word, you can see the world-famous Wang Office Assistant demonstrated. An easy-to-use word processor with a selection of quality printers that give you spreadsheet capability too, plus a price to make you smile. $4,995 or even less. And remember, the Australian Government Investment Allowance ends June 30th, so call Business Word now on 692 0077.
GB News Talk 87 with tonight's Rugby League State of Origin match. Brought to you by HFC Financial Services, Carlton, one of the world's great brewers, PubMart and Monia Metal Building Products. Now with uninterrupted football action, here's Bill Anderson and Greg Hartley.
Good evening and welcome to the Sydney Cricket Ground for the second of the Winfield State of Origin games. Well, there's a tremendous crowd building up here, the hill in particular. It's totally full at the moment. There's quite a lot of seats vacant at the moment, both in the Noble and the Bradman stand, also down in front of the members stand. But I've been assured that it's a sellout house, capacity house, particularly with the seating. With me tonight is Billy Anderson. As you may have heard on the intro into the show, poor old mate Peter Peters at the moment has laryngitis, the first time that Peter hasn't broadcast a match with me in some 3 years, and I'm certainly going to miss him. But in his place is Billy Anderson. Good afternoon, Bill, or good evening, Bill.
Yeah, thanks very much, Greg. It's a pleasure to be here, and at the moment we're being entertained by the Australian Cowgirls, and they always provide some tremendous entertainment at these games. And
they're beautiful.
For those people who are listening, no, it's not Peter Peters having just had a nose job. It's Bill Anderson who is filling in for him tonight, and I'm sure that Greg and I will be able to provide you with an accurate and an entertaining call, and it's going to be a tremendous game. Going back to 1980, when the inception of the State of Origin games, we've had 12 State of Origin matches to this stage, and the scoreline favours Queensland to the tune of 12-4, but the one we're concerned about directly is 1985, and of course in 1985 it's a 1-0 lead so far to New South Wales in the series after our 18-2 win in Lang Park, and it's a very important game, this one, Greg, because a win for New South Wales, of course, is going to mean that we've wrapped the series up. If we're to lose this one, it's going to come down to the sudden death at Lang Park.
Yeah, I don't think I fancy going back to Lang Park with 1-1 just quietly. They do it very hard up there, the Blues, on Lang Park, particularly if you're on an even situation. I think I'd like to go back up there when it is 2-2, and to heck with the last one, although we would like to win it, but it'll certainly even up that score a little better.
Greg, in the first State of Origin game, Kevin Roberts was the referee, and the New South Wales players had no problems with his interpretations. Tonight it's going to be Barry Gummersall, who's the Queensland referee. Do you think that there'll be any problems for New South Wales as far as his interpretations are concerned?
Quite a few of them, Bill, have played under Gummersall, as you're aware, particularly Mortimer, Cleel. There are quite a few of them, actually. Graith is another one that comes to mind, Gary Jack, and of course Brett Kenny. But I don't know. I've often wondered about this guy. I think he's a very good referee. I mean, you referee international matches, and to do that you have to be a good referee. He was sent across to the UK and to France just recently by the Australian Rugby League to do those test matches over there, and one would think he's got the capabilities. But he's a little different than what we've been used to in Sydney, and if the players can overcome that, I think we can win this game, whether or not he's a Queenslander tonight or not.
Well, there are very few changes. There are none at all in the New South Wales side, and only the one change in the Queensland team. Paul McCabe's been omitted, and in his place comes Wally Fullerton-Smith. Does this make them a stronger side?
Yes, it does in defence, certainly. I think Wally Fullerton-Smith is a very, very good player in defence. There's no doubt about that. As a matter of fact, I think that if he hadn't been injured in the first round, in the first match, he would have been in there. He will add a lot of clout to their defence, particularly close around the rucks, and for that reason, yes, they will be a little bit stronger. I don't know whether the dry ground's going to suit them, although you've got the big fellows like Close and Meninga out wide. I think some of the players might have a little bit of a problem handling him. But I've got all the confidence in the world in Chris Morter and Michael O'Connor to be able to do that job.
We saw New South Wales in that first State of Origin game use a huge kicking game, which they used to their advantage in the wet. Do you expect them to employ similar tactics tonight?
I don't know whether they will. I think they might try to get the ball out wide and run the ball using the size of their backs. Whether or not they've got a special game plan or not, I don't know. I would like to think they can do that, because I think that Coach Terry Fernley has probably come up with a couple of game plans, and he'll wait till how they work out the first 10 minutes of this game, and with the situation where you can send on instructions, he will then do that, and then we'll get down to the nitty-gritty.
There's been a lot of conjecture over to what the Australian team, or the makeup of the Australian team, is going to be for the first Test match against New Zealand, and many people have suggested that if New South Wales can win this one tonight, it's going to be the New South Wales 13, and possibly the 2 reserves, Ella and Tunks as well, with the remainder being made up of Queenslanders. Is it that cut and dried?
I don't know, Bill, you look at these two sides. Certainly Eric Grove, I think Michael O'Connor's got to go because of his goal kicking. Brett Kenny has made application to the Australian Rugby League, as you're aware, to stand down from representative fixtures after this evening. Steve Mortimer, by all means. Wayne Pearce, most certainly. Peter Wynn has to be there, as does Stephen Roach. Benny Elias, in my opinion, has to, depending on his game against Greg Conescu tonight. Certainly Pat Jarvis and the 2 utility players that you mentioned in Steve Ella and the utility forward in Peter Tunks. Yes, when you look at the Queensland side, I suppose Wally Lewis, and should be captain, I might add, he has to go there. Johnny Rebo might knock off a spot, although he's a veteran, but he did play without any doubt all over the top of Johnny Ferguson last week. Yeah, that's in my opinion anyway. Mal Meninga is certainty. Dale Shearer, no. Colin Scott, no. As I said, Lewis, yes. Bobby Linder, I think, should go across because I think he's a great player. Paul Borton, by all means. And probably Greg Dowling. I can't see any of the others. Dave Brown, most certainly not. Conescu, I think the little fella Benny Elias is going to get in front there. But I suppose they should take 2 hookers across there because 2 specialists in that position is very vital.
Well, New South Wales is quoted as 6-4 favourites for this game, and to many people it's a foregone conclusion that New South Wales, after their 18-2 victory in Brisbane, have got this one, their home and hose. But while I wasn't at Lang Park, of course, like everyone else, I saw the game on television, and I thought that game was a lot closer than the scoreline suggested. Can Queensland make it 1-1?
Well, it depends on how they, what frame of mind they're in. I hate being favourites. I don't think the New South Wales side like being favourites either, just quietly. I think they would prepare to go in as underdogs. But they are favourites, there's no doubt about that. I think you quoted the figure of 6-4 on. For that reason, they are in a very awkward position. The Queenslanders have got nothing to lose. They can come out and level the series at this stage, then go back to their home ground with I keep placing the emphasis on a Queensland referee, but that is the fact, back with a Queensland referee in front of their home crowd, and we will do it very tough. I'd like to wrap the series up here at the SCG tonight, and like to think that we can go up there with a 2-2 with a 2-blot situation with 1 to go, and not give a heck about that, because then we would have tied up the series.
Queensland made a lot of yardage in that first State of Origin game out wide through their centres, Meninga and Close, but they're still missing their danger man, Gene Miles, and he won't be back either for the 3rd game. Do you think he's been a big loss to them?
Oh, tremendous loss, there's no doubt about it. The expertise of Gene Miles running off Wally Lewis, such a powerhouse runner, Bill, as you're aware, and he just creates havoc any time he takes the ball as he goes up, and they are sorely missed, not only by Gene Miles, but also by Kerry Bowstead. They certainly miss him. He is, to my mind, probably one of the greatest wingers in the world. So there, I suppose that we can take credence in the fact that we can beat them with the team that they've got, but they're not at full strength.
Well, we're being entertained by various sorts of entertainment at the moment. There's going to be a fireworks display, and I think the parachutist is about to land. I'll just give you the results of the game prior to this one. In the under-18s, New South Wales versus Queensland, New South Wales was successful with a scoreline of 14 points to 6. Tries were scored by Steve Antonelli, the winger, who scored 2 tries, and Glenn Rogers, their replacement player, and a goal to Terry Madison. For Queensland, their 6 points came from a goal to Darryl Shaw and a try to Rowan Teeble, who was their winger. Well, it's all happening here at the Sydney Cricket Ground. We'll take a break, and then we'll be back to bring you uninterrupted football from the SCG.
If you receive a family allowance or pension from the Department of Social Security, you no doubt know that all pensions, benefits and family allowances must be deposited into some sort of banking account. Where does your cheque go? What about the Friendship Credit Union, where you receive 14% interest per annum? You can deposit or withdraw whenever you like. There are no government taxes or charges for cheques. And the Friendship Credit Union even have a free bill-paying service. To find out more about the Friendship Credit Union, call 232-4755. 232-4755.
Noritake, tradition and excellence since 1904. The Noritake Warehouse presents a rare opportunity to purchase discontinued lines of the beautiful Noritake dinnerware, figurines and accessories at up to 75% less than usual. And of course, you can view the latest Noritake dinnerware, up to 75% off Noritake dinnerware at the Noritake Warehouse, corner of Jones and William Henry Streets, Ultimo. 9:30 till 3:30 Monday to Saturday for 3 weeks only.
Hear Michael Pascoe's Stock Exchange and Business News daily during the Sundown Rundown, brought to you by Custom Credit Business Division on 2GB News Talk 87.
Excuse us, would you please? We'd like to make a nice change to your living room.
You do, and I'll rearrange your face.
No, the telly.
Oh, you want to take over the payments?
You misunderstand. Now SBS Television is on UHF.
Oof?
No, UHF, ultra high frequency. Look. Look at that picture. Clearer, sharper, more colourful, and the sound...
Look out! Get down, man!
I say, that was close.
SBS Television now on ultra-high frequency. Clearly the picture of the year.
Some people leave their hearts here. I'll never ever leave but San Francisco here.
In San Francisco, we love our city, but we love your beer.
But I'll take the beer they can't beat here.
And that's Foster's Lager, Australia's famous beer.
Get ground for the Winfield State of Origin Series Game 2 at the SCG. My partner tonight in crime, Billy Anderson, sitting in for Peter Peters, who has been struck down by the dreaded germ, laryngitis. Billy, we've discussed the prospects of Queensland levelling the scores tonight, winning this particular match and going up to Lang Park for the third and final decider.
Well, they've proven in the past, Queensland, that they're at their most dangerous when the chips are down, and the chips are certainly down this evening for them. They've got everything going against them. They've lost the first State of Origin game. They're playing us on our home ground here. We've got their referee, but I don't know that's going to make that much difference. The crowd's streaming in at the moment. We've probably got a crowd somewhere in the vicinity of 30,000 people, and that could build up to 40,000, although one's got to make comment that you've got to pay the price of progress, and with the Sheridan stand that's out and a part of the hill area out, we've obviously minimised with the number of people we can squeeze in tonight, but things are certainly packing up. The toss is being made at the moment, and we can see that Wally Lewis has, I think Wally's won the toss, and we won't know what way they run until the players come onto the field, but I hope that's not a bad aim. But we can check that out shortly with our sideline eye, Tony McGay. But the players are, the crowd is streaming in, but Queensland particularly dangerous when the chips are down, as I'd already mentioned, and they could be in no worse a backs to the wall situation than they're going to be in this evening.
Bill, just looking at some of the players this evening, is particularly for New South Wales, Gary Jack, 24 years of age, 13 odd stone, not a big guy. He's represented Sydney first, New South Wales and Australia in 3 tests versus Great Britain. In 84, Sydney first, and for New South Wales in 85, he transferred from the Illawarra club, the Western Suburbs, up to Sydney in 1981, and now he's presently with the Balmain club. Mate, he's a great fullback. I think that he's the type of fellow that's going to cement that spot in that position for probably at least the next 4 or 5 years. I can't see Colin Scott as a threat to him.
Well, after Graham Eady's retirement, and we went through a couple of fullbacks, and the most notable of those was Greg Brentnell, who was a great custodian for Australia. We've been looking for someone to take his place, and coming from Illawarra, then to Western Suburbs, and finally on to Balmain, Jack's done a tremendous job. He was given his opportunity last year in this State of Origin series. He grabbed that opportunity and made the most of it. I think he's proven himself to be the form fullback in Sydney football. I think that he played well over the top of Colin Scott in the first State of Origin match, and subsequently, no doubt in my mind, he will be selected in the Australian side as the #1 fullback.
Bill, there's been a lot of talk about Stevie Mortimer being the captain of Australia. Now, we both know that you can't chuck Wally Lewis out, or throw Wally Lewis, is a better word, out of the captaincy after a performance up there in Lang Park in that first game. He's going to be the obvious choice, there's no doubt about that. The Australian Rugby League will stick to him. But having a look at Steve Mortimer's credential, he's only, when I say only 28, and he seems to be playing the best rugby league of his career.
Well, I'm not 100% happy with the way Mortimer's playing. I think Mortimer's doing a great job as a leader. I think he's a good organiser of play. He's controlling play very well. His leadership qualities have been unquestioned in this series, New South Wales and Queensland. But my greatest memories, my fondest memories of Steve Mortimer as a footballer are when he runs with the ball. And I don't think I've seen enough of Steve doing that in the last year. He's almost reached the stage now where sides would be holding off him, and I'd like to see him cut loose tonight. There's no doubting his qualities, but if he hasn't lost a yard of pace, then let's see it tonight.
Well, maybe he's been playing to instructions with his club. I don't know. I think he certainly cut loose up in the last State of Origin. As you said, you were unfortunate that you couldn't be there. I was up there, and I think he played a captain's knock like you couldn't believe. And I think for that reason, he's certainly going to be a tourist to New Zealand. One fellow that comes to mind who is playing superb football, a giant in the game, a young fellow, is Stephen Roach. He's 23 years of age, 16.5 stone. And he's also represented country under 18s in the country. He's from the Illawarra district, and now he's up with Balmain. I think he's going to cap a sensational season off in 85 by going across to New Zealand, and probably an on-form should be the first prop picked.
Well, my first years in coaching was an under-23 coach with Eastern Suburbs, and I had the opportunity to see at close hand Arthur Beetson, and unquestionably, Steve Roach is the best prop forward I have seen since Beetson. Beetson really classified himself as a second rower, but he played a lot of front row for Australia. But I think Roach has got all the attributes. He's tough in the middle of the rucks. He takes the ball up hard. In defence, he drives the opposition backwards. He's a very good scrummager. I'm sure that Benny Elias would give credence to that. He's always in there to protect his hooker should anything start up. But he's got the added skill that he's a tremendous offloader of the ball. He reads play well. He's prepared to pass in all opportunity. You know, he's the best prop forward prospect that we've had in 10 years, so let's not let him go. He's good enough to play for Australia. Don't wait, put him there now.
Yeah, I think he's got to be encouraged. Peter Wynn. Now, if Peter can make the side of New Zealand, he will join a very illustrious group of brothers that have represented Australia. They go back to the Thornettes, the Diamonds, Bobby and Peter. And, you know, I think there's about 4 or 5 of them. And he's going to join, as I said, a very illustrious group of brothers, if in fact he can make it to New Zealand. Well, now, he has been in form this year, no doubt about it. That's obvious because he's out here tonight. And I think he can go along and get that representative Guernsey.
Well, he hasn't done enough yet to earn the spot. You know, we see him play every week, and we've got a tremendous rap on him, but we've got to convince some Queensland selectors that he is playing that well. And I think Peter's representative future very much hinges on how well he's able to play here this evening.
Okay, you're listening to Rugby League on 2GB News Talk 87. Brought to you by, where we are, HFC Finance, PubMart, Monia Metal Building Products, and Carlton Brewers of 2.1 LA.
It's on again tonight. Hot from the SCG, Channel 9 brings you the second State of Origin clash.
Watch out, Queensland.
It's our boys' chance to win the series.
Watch out, Queensland.
Can Mortimer's men beat the champs again?
Watch out, Queensland. The Blues are on their way.
Full action replay, 9:30 tonight on 9.
Watch out, Queensland. The Blues are on their way.
The second State of Origin clash brought to you by Tui's.
And now the big moment. Yes, the mayor is about to officially open the new plaza, but there is some confusion here. I think he has the wrong speech. One of the aldermen is making hurried changes. Let's see now. Yes, he is highlighting sections and making some notes as well, all with the same pen. It's a Statler. The alderman is using a mark and write pen from Statler.
As your mayor, it gives me...
Now there is a pen that will highlight and write as well. Mark and Write from Statler. Available in 6 bright colours from newsagents and stationery suppliers.
D-Day on the investment allowance is June 30th, and your Dynamite Daihatsu dealer can show you how you can benefit up to a hefty $2,000. Daihatsu Dynamite dealers have the best ever deals on Delta trucks. Your choice of either petrol or diesel, standard or wide body cab, long or short wheelbase, 34 models to choose from. But hurry, these benefits and discounts can't last, so storm your Dynamite Daihatsu dealer before June 30th.
Daihatsu, that's who.
Some people leave their hearts here. I'll never ever leave my San Francisco here.
In San Francisco, we love our city, but we love your beer.
But I'll take the beer they can't beat here.
And that's Foster's Lager, Australia's famous beer.
HFC Financial Services are backing Michelle Murray.
You keep chipping away and try to form a relationship.
The work Michelle does with children takes a special dedication.
They're going to fight you every inch of the way, but you end up loving them.
At HFC, we're encouraged by the way Michelle approaches her work, and we're backing people like her with personal loans, fast confidential service and manageable repayment plans. If you're working for a better life, you're the sort of person we want to back at HFC Financial Services.
Welcome back to the SCG for the second Winfield State of Origin game. here at the Sydney Cricket Ground, and just now Billy and I are witnessing the fireworks going off here, all these great cannons.
Yes, it's not Steve Roach running onto the field you can hear in the background, it is the fireworks going off.
Mate, they do that up at Lang Park too, I might add. We've got the cheer squad down there in their beautiful white outfits with their blue pom-poms. We've got the band, I think, from the, well, I suppose it's the Army or the Navy band, and they look spectacular in their red jackets and black pants. I'd just like to talk about a few of these fellows from Queensland, in particular Johnny Rebo. Now, I mentioned earlier, Bill, that he had a pretty darn good game up there against Johnny Ferguson, and I would imagine he's got the opportunity late in his twilight career to look down the throat of a green and gold Guernsey to New Zealand if he can maintain the same form as you did in Queensland.
Well, possibly the selectors will be of the opinion that that Rebo's not an up-and-comer, but I don't think that matters. Once players put themselves on display in a series such as this, they're playing for an Australian jumper, and if he's good enough, and he was the best winger, I thought Eric Grothe was a little bit quiet.
Yeah.
I thought that Rebo got around Ferguson on a couple of occasions in the first State of Origin game. To my mind, Rebo was the best winger on the field, and if he can reproduce that form tonight, he's going to put a lot of pressure on for a wing spot.
Yeah, and I think the Queensland contingent will be right behind him. I'm sure that a lot of people up there in the twilight of his career would like to see him go out with
They'll be right behind the whole 13 of them.
Yeah, but in particular fellows that really have the opportunity to make that Australian side. Another fellow, Chris Close, playing in Sydney with the Manly club, is a huge guy, 15.5 stone. Plays with Manly Warringah. He's represented Queensland 79, 81, 83, right through till 85. Now, there's always been a question mark about Choppy because of the size of him. He's always had hamstring problem.
Well, I was amazed that he was able to get himself right for the first State of Origin game. He was injured in a National Panasonic Cup match at Lismore playing against Cronulla, and I was very surprised that happened on the Wednesday, and he was fit to play on the following Tuesday night. But I thought he created havoc in that first game. Every time he handled the ball, he just didn't get enough of the ball. But tonight, that won't be the case. I think we'll find Wally Lewis and Mark Murray looking for him with long passes, and he's going to be a danger.
All right, Billy, well, we've got a little mention with the sponsors, and we'll come back.
I think we've got time for another ad break, and we'd very much like to thank our sponsors, HFC Finance, PubMart, Monia Metal Building Products, and I think that you've got some products from Monia Metal. Have you got
Oh, mate, have I ever got a fantastic fence with the boys put up, Peter Willis, and I've just written you a letter, Peter. I thank you very much. It's added a lot of class to my place up at Wenty.
And the Carlton, the great brewers of that tremendous drink, 2.1 LA. So we'll take a break and earn some money from the station and be back on the other side.
You know, Monty has been putting a roof over Aussie heads for nearly 50 years now, so it's not surprising that Monia Metal Building Products also make a top range of Colorbond steel guttering. Monia's Colorbond guttering with long-lasting zinc-aluminum steel means no tiresome painting, and it comes in 4 different shapes and styles, including the remarkable new leafless gutter. So if you're about to buy new guttering, phone 644 8888 now and find out why it makes good Aussie sense to make it Colorbond gutter from Monia Metal.
They're popping up everywhere. PubMart Pubs, the hotel group that guarantees you great prices in the bottle shop and good times throughout. It's what you've been waiting for. Hey, watch it. Oh, and watch these great specials. There's McWilliam's 2-litre fortified range for $5.99, Lindeman's 4-litre cellar packs for $5.49, and Minchinberry champagnes are only $3.99. Is your local pub a PubMart pub? No? Give it time. PubMart Pubs. Drop in soon and remember to make that one for the road a Swan Special Light.
Welcome back to the Sydney Cricket Ground. It's Bill Anderson filling in for Peter Peters, and I'm with, of course, his old mate Greg Hartley as the players file onto the field. And the first team out's New South Wales, and we're awaiting the return, the coming of the Queenslanders. And while we're waiting for that, I think we should cross to our sideline eye, Tony McGay, and Tony can give us a feeling of the atmosphere and what it's like from a sideline view.
Well, at this stage, Billy, the atmosphere is really intense, electric down here. All I can tell you at this stage is Queensland won the toss, but they're in an intense psych-up period at the moment. I couldn't get in the room to find out actually which way they're going, but I'm sure you can see from where New South Wales stands. That's the situation. They'll be running towards the Bradman end of the ground. There's very little wind here. But as you can probably hear behind that glass box, mate, there's a hell of a lot of noise.
Thanks very much, Tony, for that sideline report. And now for the team rundowns. The Queensland team. Number 1 and fullback, Colin Scott. Number 2, John Rebo. Number 3, Mal Meninga. Number 4, Chris Close. 5, Dale Shearer. 6, Wally Lewis. Number 7, Mark Murray. Number 8, Bob Linder. Number 9, Wally Fullerton Smith. Number 10, Paul Vorton. 11, Dave Brown. 12, Greg Conescu. 13, Greg Dowling, and the 2 reserves, 14, Tony Curry, and 15, Ian French.
And in the New South Wales side at fullback, Gary Jack wearing the number 1 jumper. Eric Groth and Johnny Ferguson on the wings. Michael O'Connor and Chris Morter in the centre positions. Brett Kenny, 5'8". Steve Mortimer, the halfback and captain of the New South Wales side. Wayne Pearce wearing number 8 tonight. The lock forward, Peter Wynn and Noel Cleal in the second row. Stephen Roach and Paddy Jarvis the props, and Benny Elias the hooker. And our 2 reserves, the zip man Stevie Ella, and the other reserve is Peter Tunks.
And the boos you can hear are for the Queensland side as they come onto the field. I suppose they're copying a little bit of what we're used to at Lang Park, but this is a very important match for both sides. If New South Wales can win this one, they can wrap up the series. If Queensland are victorious, it goes to the final shootout at Lang Park. The referee, Barry Gummersall, takes the field, and it's a tremendous crowd here for the last 10 or 15 minutes. The stands have been filling up. We're looking in the vicinity of 35 to 40,000. The ground looks in absolutely excellent condition.
Mate, it certainly does, and as you said, that hill, you couldn't get any more on it. It's capacity crowd. Gummersall ran on to the centre of the ground along with his Queensland touch judge. I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall to listen to what those last instructions were. But nevertheless, the game's about to get underway. Well, Billy was right with the way the teams are running. We've got the New South Wales running towards the Sydney end of the ground, and of course Queensland to the Randwick end of the ground.
Yes, New South Wales are defending the Randwick end and the Paddington end being defended by Queensland. It's a do-or-die situation. Just giving the scores in the game prior to this, it was New South Wales under-18s 14, victorious over Queensland 6. Ball being placed now by O'Connor.
Yes, he's coming up into the centre of the ground, and this game about to get underway. A lot of our spectators here on the hill are screaming out, Wally does something which I would not repeat on air, but it's not becoming of the New South Welshman. I wouldn't like to repeat it, and I think it's just not the right thing to do. We can tolerate with what they say up there, but certainly we shouldn't be doing it now.
All in readiness now with O'Connor to kick off for New South Wales. There's the kick-off. Taken down in the in goal by Colin Scott.
And Scott now touches it with his foot, picks it up 5 out from his own line, runs it away some 15 metres and pulled down by Elias over the top. Also Peter Wins, picked up by Canescu. Good pass out to Linda. And we have a penalty straight away by the referee just outside the Queensland quarter line. All the New South Wales side inside that 5 metres.
Well, if this is going to be the pattern of play, then I'm quite happy with it. The New South Wales players were well back their 5 metres, but Gummersall's decided to keep them apart, and he's going to get no arguments from me or from the rest of the crowd. But while all that was happening, there was a bit of an altercation in back play. Peter Wynn went through very quickly to try and nullify the kick, and he was knocked over, not in possession of the ball.
Now we've got Dowling taking it right up to the halfway line, pulled down over the top by Elias. He plays it back to Canescu, gives it out to Brown. Brown drops the shoulder into the defence of Wayne Pearce. He stands his ground to knock him down. Canescu once again, he turns it back inside to Fullerton Smith, takes off it again, is pulled down centre field, 40 out from the Blues line. He'll play it back to Canescu, goes across out to Murray, Murray to Lewis. Lewis now kicks downfield, and it's a good kick too. Fine touch, some 18 metres out from the New South Wales line, and that's put the Blues on the defensive, Billy.
It was in the first state of origin, the game, that New South Wales used a kicking game to advantage, and it was probably our kicking game more than anything else that won us the match. Wally Lewis and Queensland no doubt have decided that they're going to strike first, strike while the iron's hot, and it's the right boot of Wally Lewis tonight that's got New South Wales on the back pedal in the opening few minutes.
Scrum to go down to be fed by Mortimer, won by New South Wales, picked up, the scrum breaks up. I thought there might have been a few clashes in there. Mortimer in possession, Murray over the top of him, plays it back to Wayne Pearce, tries to fend off Canescu, pull down, Murray over the top, still 15 out from the Blues line. Played back into the arms of Ben Elias. He gives it across now to Pat Jarvis, puts his head down, goes up towards the quarter line. Canescu over the top in company with Borton and Dowling. He'll play it just inside his own quarter, back to Elias. Then it goes on to Chris Mortimer, who clears that danger area with a kick well down into the territory of the Queenslanders. Oh, up Johnny Rebo's chest and arms. Gummersall, you've got to put a scrum down, and that's what he's going to do. 35 out from the Toads goal line.
In this sort of football, it's no good playing in your own quarter. You don't score 100-metre tries in state of origin football, or it's very unlikely that you're going to, and one team's liable to make a mistake and the other capitalise on it. That's what New South Wales is waiting for. A knock on by Rebo, and we've come up with a scrum win.
Straight out from Mortimer to Kenny, now up to Gary Jack in possession, some 32 metres out from the Queensland line. Wally Lewis, the man to pull him down, toes it through off Elias's leg, picked up once again by Peter Wynn, goes further downfield for a gain of 5 metres. 24 out from the Queensland line, centre field. Elias plays it back to big Stephen Roach. Up over the quarter line, holds one up, coming through as Elias. He offloads now, a bad pass, but picked up by Brett Kenny. Tries to gain ground, turns it back inside to Jarvis. Jarvis out to Elias, across to O'Connor, then out to Chris Mortimer, gives it out to Ferguson, but Ferguson is pulled down by Mal Meninga some 24 metres out from the Queensland line. He plays it, it goes to Chris Mortimer, out to Steve Mortimer, back again into the arms of Jarvis, and again he's put down some 24 metres out from the Queensland line.
And it's of interest to note that in the first State of Origin game, Rebo marked Ferguson. Now they've changed wings and Ferguson's being opposed to Dale Shearer.
And a high kick put up and beautifully taken by Colin Scott, 1 metre out from his own line, under a lot of pressure. Now it's played back straight into the arms of the wing three-quarter. Dale Shearer running it out some 12 metres or so to be pulled down. He quickly plays it back to John Rebo, running wide, but the defence is up there very quick to knock him down some 15 metres out from his own line. He'll play it back to Konescu, looking for a ball carrier. Dowling's on one side of him. It goes to Murray, out to Dowling. He tries to fend off the defence of Chris Mortimer, but again pulled down some 18 metres out from his own line. Played back to Konescu. Now it goes back to Big Mal Meninga, who gets his foot behind this one, kicking it deep down, straight into the arms of Gary Jack over the quarter line. Runs a mandatory 5 metres or so, 10 metres I should say, and he is knocked to the ground on a great tackle by Linda. Now it goes across into the arms of Wayne Pearce, running up, and he's stopped in his tracks, and a great hit around the legs by Wally Fullerton Smith. Over the top was Brown. Plays it back now to Elias. Gives it out to Wynn. Wynn charges forward. He's taken by Lewis and Borton over the top to be knocked down 15 metres in from touch, 35 out from the Queensland line. He'll get up and play it back to Elias. Elias across into the arms of Steve Mortimer. Good pass out to Kenny. Kenny offloads to Gary Jack. He's through the gap. He turns it back inside. It came off the foot of Cleel, but I think Queensland will come up with possession of the ball. They do so now. Getting up to play it is Dowling. He plays it back to Konescu. It goes out to Borton down the blind side, but he's taken head on by Cleel and Company as he offloads once again into the arms of Close to be pulled down right on the halfway line.
It's obvious even at this early stage that New South Wales have made a decision. They're not going to win this match by playing no frills football. They're trying to offload the ball at every opportunity and trying to open the game up.
Now we've got Lewis again trying to kick through. It came off a New South Welshman straight back to Brown. 6 tackles waved. Now it's back into the arms of Wally Fullerton Smith, and now he waves the 6 tackles on. 5 metres on the New South Wales side. It goes back, of the halfway that is, it goes back straight into the arms of Dowling. He goes further downfield to be about 55 metres out from the New South Wales line. Played to Konescu, out to Murray, back to Lewis, then on to Murray once again, and he has put down some 38 metres out from the New South Wales line.
They're not waiting for Murray to make a break. He's about as fast as I am.
Yeah, he's a spectator out there again. Lewis kicking for touch, touched in flight. Now the bounce does favour. Oh, it was knocked back by Ferguson. The referee indicates just that. He'll play it some 25 metres out from his own line, straight back into the arms of Steve Mortimer. He's knocked down. He plays it now back to Elias. Elias goes down the touchline, turns it back inside to Ferguson, and Ferguson is going to be bundled over to touch, or is he? No, he just manages to stay in the field of play. Steve Mortimer at dummy half. A good pass across to Peter Wynn. Straightens up the attack, but again, Dowling over the top in good company with Brown. They knock him down. Also Fullerton Smith involved. He plays it back to Elias. It goes across into the arms of Chris Mortimer, who puts the football right down the Queensland end of the ground, across to the wing of John Rebo. He'll come up over his quarter line. Oh, he gets around Eric Groth. They chase, and he's hit from behind to be brought down just short of the halfway line. Michael O'Connor's in Disneyland. He's going straight across the Winfield side. Not sure where he is, as Queensland go further downfield, an extra 5 or 6 metres with Close making the break. Now it's played straight back. It goes to Murray, out to Wally Lewis. Good pass on to Paul Vorton. Slips in the centre of the ground, right on the halfway line. Plays it straight back across to Dowling, then given out to Fullerton Smith. He turns it back inside to Dowling. Dowling gives it away once again to Johnny Rebo. Rebo looks inside. He gives it back into the arms of Konescu, and Konescu is pulled down now some 24 metres out from the New South Wales line as Lewis gives it across into the arms again of Murray. He makes good ground. He stands. He offloads to Brown. It goes back to Lewis. Lewis has a look on the outside. A pass has gone across to Shearer. Shearer's heading for the line. He turns it inside to Meninga, and he's gone touching goal.
It was a tremendous break by Queensland. Queensland had throwing the ball around at every opportunity. They decided to spread the ball out wide, and that could have been a try. It was dropped by Meninga over the line after going through 4 or 5 sets of hands. Great Queensland passing movement.
Now we go back up to the quarter line for the recommencement. Elias to do the honours for New South Wales. That was a very, very close shave for New South Wales. The tap's on, back to Roach. Takes it up some 8 metres or so and pulled down by the defence of Wally Fullerton Smith, and a penalty to New South Wales, and the indication there from the referees that he threw a blow.
And after 8 minutes of play, the scoreline is 0-all, New South Wales and Queensland in the second State of Origin match. And we'll cross to our sideline eye, Tony McGay, for an update.
Plenty of work for both trainers here. Dave Brown received attention a little bit earlier, so did John Ferguson for New South Wales, but the improvement here is in the Queensland handling.
Thanks very much for that report, Tony, as Elias takes the tap and turns it to Jarvis on the blind side, and he storms upfield.
Pull down now, a shade over the halfway line in Queensland territory. It's back with Elias. Good pass out now to Wayne Pearce, who takes it an extra 4 or 5 metres. Vorton over the top. Plays it once again to Elias. Elected to go down the blind side, then changed his mind, went to the open side, and again was easy meat for Vorton to pick him up.
I'm sure that neither coach would be completely pleased with the defence of their side. Both New South Wales and Queensland are finding plenty of breaks. They've been trying to open the game up, and ball carriers haven't been put to the ground, and this game certainly hasn't opened with the fire that I expected.
Now we've got Johnny Rebo, 15 out from his own line, plays it back to Mal Meninga. He goes up to the quarter line, and again a good tackle around the legs by Kenny pulls him down.
You can see an example of it there, where the New South Wales defensive line wasn't set, but the Queensland player was up on his feet and playing the ball. While it's against the rules, you've got to get away with it. We've got to hold them down for longer in the play the balls.
Kinescu at dummy half, back to Vorton now, kicks well downfield. Gary Jack beautifully positioned, allows it to bounce once, twice. Now in possession of the ball, 15 out from his own line, and posted on his Pat Malone. He'll take it up. The first defender, Dale Shearer, into him. He tries to slip the ball and does so successfully. Away to Ferguson, flying down the line. Lewis comes across. He's missed him also. Vorton in cover defence eventually pulls him down. With Murray around the legs, it's played back to O'Connor. Now it's given out to Cleland. He takes off like a rampaging bully. Off boats to Steve Mortimer. Good pass out to Kenny. They're pretty light on the outside. Oh, and it's passed over to Growth, and he's just managed to hang on to the football on the far side, taken by Rebo. Played back once again, it goes to Steve Mortimer. Out now to Jarvis, out to Elias. Elias across to Kenny. Kenny's found the opening, has a look back inside. Now O'Connor's taken the football. He's got Ferguson going back from the wing. But again, he's pulled down about 15 metres out from the Queensland line.
Well, Brett Kenny might have decided that he doesn't want to represent Australia and go to New Zealand, but no, he's by far the most penetrating back on the field.
Now we've got Roach, 12 metres out from the Queensland line. Elias at dummy half, a good pass to pick up Steve Mortimer. Puts the high kick up, Colin Scott. They're under a lot of pressure. He's up for it all. So is the New South Welshman up. One tackle left to go. The Blues in possession, some 4 metres out from the line.
Great play, Brett Kenny.
Plays it back to Steve Mortimer. Again, the kick goes up. Pressure on the Maroons. Oh, we've got Mortimer up for try. Oh, and a good New South Wales try. What a ripper that one was.
Well, this was a tremendous try by New South Wales, and just the start that we needed. I think we should give credit here to the first take. It was Brett Kenny who went up and brought down a bomb on the 5th tackle. That gave us the opportunity for another kick, and it went across to Chris Mortimer. It was a tremendous bomb. There were plenty of Queenslanders in the vicinity, but Mortimer went up above the pack and brought it down for the opening 4 points.
Well, what a sensational try. The kick went up and he was right underneath it. And there was Maroon players all in the in-goal area, and I would imagine would have it well and truly covered. But it was a great effort from the centre from New South Wales. Now this kick to come, Billy, about 18 metres out.
The kick to come from Michael O'Connor, and in the last 2 years at the Sydney Cricket Ground, he hasn't missed a goal. He's kicked 8 out of 8. We've got a score of 4-0 in the National Panasonic scoreboard with an attempted kick to come.
Well, as I said, 18 metres out, kicking towards the Bradman stand. Very important kick on the National Panasonic scoreboard. New South Wales 4, possibly 6 coming up if Michael O'Connor's right on target. Comes in now, beautiful kick, comfortable kick, got the 2 points, and the Blues go to the lead. And what a beautiful lead, Billy Anderson.
A great lead, and you can make it 9 out of 9 in the last 2 years. He hasn't missed one in the State of Origin series, Michael O'Connor, and full credit to him because he took a very heavy knock early in this half. He was concussed, but he lined that kick up and it was never in doubt as Wally Lewis now comes up to take the restart for the Maroons.
Back at the centre now, and Lewis gets it underway with a kick deep into New South Wales territory, beautifully picked up by Cleel. Kicks on first tackle from 15 metres out from his own line and knocked back by Colin Scott, but gains possession for the Maroons. Now pulled down some 30 metres out centre field from his own goal line. It was a great tackle too by Wayne Pearce.
Well, the Maroons might be suffering a little bit of SCG nerves. We've seen 2 clearing kicks by New South Wales and they've fumbled them both. But now they're playing us at our own game, and through a Lewis kick, the ball goes back to Jack and he steps off the right foot and makes the break upfield, and he's brought down just outside of his quarter line by Vorton.
Vorton now, a good tackle too around the legs. Plays it some 32 metres out from his own line. Back to Roach. He dummies, has a look inside, still wanting to offload, but pull down. in a good tackle right around the legs by Fullerton Smith. Played back to Elias. Once out to Paddy Jarvis now, and then out to Wayne Pearce. And Pearce now is 2 metres over the halfway line in Queensland territory as Elias serves up a good pass once again for Chris Mortimer. He kicks straight down the throat of Colin Scott, taking it 10 metres out from his own line. The defence up there very quickly. Oh, Brett Kenny, take a bow. Great tackle, son. Right around the bootlaces to bring him down. Now he plays it back to Rebo. Stops Rebo, but he offloads back to Murray. Murray ducks his head under the tackle of Jarvis, but the weight was there and he's brought to ground just outside his own quarter line as it's played back to Konescu. Given out now to the big fella Dowling. He makes an 8 metre gain centre field. He'll play it some 26 metres out from his own line. Once again it's back to Konescu to Lewis, and Lewis now puts a high kick up. But we got Gary Jack there going to beautifully take that ball, and he does too, some 36 metres out from his own line. Steps around one, but then he is taken in a beautiful tackle by Fullerton Smith. He'll play it 8 metres on his own side of the halfway line. Also Lewis involved in that tackle as it's played back to Steve Mortimer. Chips over the top, waits for the down, picks it up, he gives it back inside to Peter Wynn. The arm's gone up from Michael O'Connor, touched in flight, 6 more tackles. There they go now, and New South Wales, Michael O'Connor in possession of the football just outside the quarter line. Queensland into the ground.
Wally Lewis is the man who normally plays in cover defence for Queensland, but of course he wasn't there. He'd made a kick, he chased it and made the tackle, which meant there was no one home. Mortimer then realised that, chipped over the top and recovered, and we've got New South Wales on the attack through Eric Growth.
Oh, and a good tackle too it was by Wally Lewis going across in cover. Brett Kenny got a pass around the corner to him. The big man was knocked down. It's played back to Chris Mortimer, beautifully taken by Ben Alowis. He offloads straight out to Kenny. Kenny's nearly through the gap again. He turns, Noel Cleal coming through. He offloads once again to Elias, but he's knocked to the ground some 18 metres out from the Queensland goal line.
Queensland haven't had much of the ball in the last 5 or 6 minutes, and they're finding it hard to withstand this pressure from the Blues.
Now we've got Wayne Pearce getting a pass across to Ferguson. Came off Ferguson's shoulder. Straight into the arms of close. Queensland in possession as Fullerton Smith now tries to run the ball away some 5 metres out from his own line.
And that was the loose ball that Queensland desperately needed. They're in all sorts of trouble, and now we've got a breakthrough. Dale Shearer as he shrugs off the first tackle and makes his way over the quarter line.
He's pulled down by Pearce, plays it back to Konescu, goes across now to Dave Brown, tries to straighten up the attack and settle it down. A pass goes across to Murray. He's put it down, it's been knocked back. The referee says everything is in order as Rebo now plays it. It goes back to Meninga, on to Wally Lewis, and again kicks downfield, forcing Jack to turn and chase the ball back to within 10 metres of his own goal line.
And this is a very ordinary chase by Queensland. They're looking very tired.
Jack runs it up now, up over the quarter line, pulled down by the defence of Queensland. Konescu first man in. He plays it back to Steve Mortimer. A long pass. Johnny Ferguson's turn. Goes away from one, steps away from a second. Borton over the top to pull him down 30 metres out from the New South Wales line.
Hadn't seen much of Steve Mortimer running this year, but he's changed all that.
Oh, Benny Elias has gone over from a try, sucked them all in, and he throws the ball up in sheer delight. Take a bow, little Benny from Balmain. Mate, that was a sensational try. Queensland, well, it's bend a toad night, and you can bend your heads.
Queensland are playing like a tired outfit. New South Wales, from a kick which was down towards their own in goal, were able to work their way in 4 tackles, 70 metres upfield. Then from a quick play the ball, Elias dummied from dummy half. He faked another dummy. The fullback fell for it, and Elias realised he only had the try line and nothing else in front of him. He saluted it before he put the ball down, and in goes Elias for the second 4-pointer for New South Wales. That's 10-0 on the National Panasonic scoreboard with a conversion attempt to come.
Well, little Benny Elias and everybody, including myself, over the period of the first 10 rounds said that he's too small to do this job, but I'll tell you what, he's 10 foot tall tonight, this kid, and if you don't get an Australian jumper to go across to New Zealand, son, well, as I said it often with Peter, and it is a big box, but I'll scrub it with a toothbrush because you are a sensational young player, son. 12 metres out, directly in front, Michael O'Connor. What can you do? Add the 2 points. Let's send them home with their tails between the legs. And I'm not biased. As he comes in, squarely hits it right over the black dot on the National Panasonic scoreboard. Billy's
We've got
with
a
a pleasure.
scoreline of 12-0, and New South Wales then took 3 tackles from dummy half. They went 70 metres in that 3 tackles, And that's just a sign of a tired team, and that's what Queensland are looking like. They've kicked the ball to New South Wales. The chase hasn't been good. They've made ineffective tackles from dummy half and around the rucks, and that's given New South Wales the latitude they've needed. And here we've got Noel Cleal now retrieving the kick-off. The New South Wales tactics are obvious. He's fired this one back downfield where it's fielded by Colin Scott.
On his own quarter two, Bill. Runs across field. The defence up there. Wayne Pearce, would you believe? First tackle right down just outside his own quarter line. Plays it back to Shearer. Tries to take off and again finds a break in the forward line. Gets through and a good solid run too. Had a look for support coming through. None available. Pull down on the halfway line. Gets up, plays it back to Konescu. Goes across to Murray. Out to Lewis. Picks up now John Rebo. And Rebo pulled down on the far side by Crusher Cleal. Quickly plays it once again back to Fullerton Smith. He takes it up an extra 5 metres to be 40 out from the New South Wales goal line.
Wally Lewis has done a lot of kicking in this game and he's done a lot of passing, but if Queensland are going to get back into it, he's going to have to do some running. He's got to take this game by the throat, get it by the scruff of the neck and do something about winning it himself.
Now there was Brown standing up for a matter of 4 or 5 seconds looking for a ball carrier to come through, none available as it goes back to Lewis. Now on to Dowling and the big fella puts a ball, would you believe, straight up in the air. New South Wales straight up to take possession. Brett Kenny, beautiful take. And it was followed through by the Queenslanders, but they weren't in the hunt of gaining possession on that occasion. As it's played back now to Wayne Pearce. He takes off and again knocked down just outside his own quarter line centre field. Elias very hungry up into that dummy half position, switches the play back to Roach centre field. He takes it up, he turns it back inside to Jarvis, steps away from one and had little Elias on the inside having a look, but he said no, go to ground. It's played back to Elias now, on to Chris Mortimer, and there's the kick downfield. Poor old Cole Scott posted on his Pat Malone once again, back into his own in goal to retrieve possession for the Queensland side. Oh, and he gets a good pass across to Johnny Rebo. Rebo steps around one, he's flying down the far side of the ground, and we've got Stevie Mortimer going away. Beautifully tackled right around the bootlaces, and the big banana bender bites the dust. He plays it once again back to Meninga, goes across to Murray, elects to go on his own, chips over the top, regains possession, on the look inside. Konescu's there, but the bounce didn't favour him. And we've got a... what have we got? We've got a bit of a melee. Big Stephen Roach has raced in, Dowling's raced in, the penalty's been given. And we've got Mr. Gomersall, not in the middle of this, but with his arm up, looks like a fence post, giving the penalty to Queensland.
Well, that penalty came from a loose ball. It was laying on the ground. The New South Wales player fell on it in an offside position, but many of the New South Wales players complained because they felt it had been touched by a Queensland hand in transit. We're never going to know.
Well, now this penalty has been given 30 metres out from the New South Wales line. Lewis knowing that rather than kick for goal, he's finding the touchline, which he does some 15 metres out from the New South Wales goal line. And we have Konescu about to take the tap. He does so, gives it out to Murray, and then on to Brown. Brown turns it back to Dowling, on to Lewis, down the blind side to Vaughton. Vaughton straightens up the attack and has pulled down some 12 metres out from the New South Wales line. He's lost possession. It's gone back into the arms of Jarvis. New South Wales in position, 12 out from their own line as it's played back to Cleal. Cleal now is apprehended by Konescu. He plays it straight back into the arms of Elias, gives it out to big Peter Wynn, and Peter Wynn is crashed to the ground by Brown. He didn't know what hit him then. I think he hit his head on the ground as it's played once again back to Steve Mortimer, who was knocked down over the top by Fullerton Smith. Now it's with Elias. A good pass back to Chris Mortimer. Very important role tonight as the kicker behind that line, but this time he kicks straight down the throat of Colin Scott, who's going to bring it right up to the halfway line.
Queensland have been falling down badly in attack where they just haven't been controlling the ball and holding it for their 6 tackles, and against a New South Wales which is running hot, they can ill afford to do that.
Now we've got Queensland in possession up over the halfway line. And the man playing the ball is Johnny Rebo. Back to Konescu to Murray. Good pass out to Brown. Brown is swamped by the defence of New South Wales. 8 metres centre field on the New South Wales side of the halfway line. Konescu desperate looking for a ball carrier. Wide pass picks up Murray. Murray out to Big Meninga. Good pass out to Close. Close cuts loose now. He's got Shearer on the outside. Turns it back inside to Murray. Murray gives a good pass inside to Fullerton Smith. Bob Linder, I should say. And Linder's gone over right underneath the black dot.
Well, that'll be one of the few occasions. That'll be one of the few occasions in this match that Queensland have been able to apply any pressure, and they did that with a good ball by Mark Murray. Murray figured in this movement twice. He threw the initial pass, it went out wide to Close. Close was able to shrug off a tackle from Ferguson, fired it onto Shearer. Murray did the rest. He backed up inside, drew the fullback Jack. He fired it back onto Linder. Linder had no one in front of him, and he was able to do the rest himself for the opening points to Queensland.
Well, how easy was that try? As you said, Murray backed up all the way, Knew his job wasn't done when he first offloaded that pass. Just kept going down centre field. Inevitably, the pass came back inside. Then he topped it off. Linda backing up. And that was a good try. And I think in the first part of the broadcast, Linda's name's probably been mentioned on about 4 occasions. Haven't seen him do much, but he certainly finished that off beautifully.
And Meninga's been able to convert that try. We've got a scoreline now on the National Panasonic scoreboard of 12-6 in favour of New South Wales.
Well, the Blues go back up to the halfway line, and I suppose the Queenslanders can feel very proud about that try, because it was a good one, no doubt about that. Now we've got Tony McGay on the sideline. Tony, what's happening down there,
Well,
Jack?
you might have noticed something with Gomersall, that last punch-up with Dowling and Roach. Now, in Brisbane, Gomersall told South coach Ron Willey that when there's a fighters on, he's inclined to let them go. He says forwards don't really want to fight anyway. Lets them punch themselves out. He just stood there while that was on.
Thanks for that report, Tony. And obviously, Mr. Gomersal's decided to adopt a different attitude down here in New South Wales, but we don't let such things happen. And from the kick-off, the ball's been fielded by the number 1, Colin Scott, brought it out to his quarter line, and Queensland now trying to open this match up as they spread the ball across their back line.
Meninga in possession, just outside his own quarter line, with Konescu now at dummy half. Decides to go on his own, wanted to turn it back out to the wing to Dowling, but Brett Kenny was between them, so he's knocked down and plays it back to Meninga. It goes across into the arms of Fullerton Smith. He falls and stumbles, and again is pulled down over the top by Pat Jarvis.
Queensland said they were going to adopt a different kicking game here to try and take the pressure off Wally Lewis, but their kicking game's shocking. We've had Paul Vorton kick the ball, we've had Greg Dowling kick the ball, we've had Scott kick it, we've had Lewis kick it. They've just got too many kickers.
Now we've got a kick just put through from Vorton straight down the throat of Gary Jack. He's returned the kick, and it's bounced over, but it bounced back in field away from the touchline. Colin Scott picks it up, a long pass out to Wally Lewis. He makes very good ground down and linking up again in the arms of Johnny Rebo. Rebo has a look. Meninga's there. He's put it down. It was knocked back, says the referee. Well, I thought that, well, it may have been knocked back. He's a lot closer. It was played by Murray. Now it goes across to Dowling. Dowling has a look, coming through again. Fullerton Smith. This time he's hit. Picked up by Steve Mortimer. New South Wales in possession, 40 metres out from their own goal line.
And that was a mistake by Queensland that New South Wales desperately needed. While we led by 12 points to 0 in this game, we certainly can't afford to be complacent. And some of the New South Wales players might have thought it was just a case of going through the motions. There's no way that Queensland are going to lay down in this match. It's going to have to be played out for the full 80 minutes.
Now Stephen Roach has just shoulder charged Dowling, offloaded back to Elias, given out to Jarvis. He's dummied, but well and truly taken by Vorton, 5 metres over the halfway line in New South Wales territory. Johnny Ferguson at dummy half. Good pass, picks up Steve Mortimer. Offloads to Kenny. Kenny then out to Wayne Pearce. He's taken by Lewis. Shrugs him off. Offloads a bad pass this time along the ground, but picked up by Michael O'Connor. Steps inside one on a swinging arm over the top by Murray. It missed its mark. O'Connor will play at 40 out from his own line. Back to Chris Mortimer. Out to Wayne Pearce again. He's picked up by Meninga and driven into the turf. One tackle left to go, says Gomersall. 8 metres on the New South Wales side of the halfway line. Elias gets it back to Chris Mortimer, then on to Gary Jack, and Jack again kicks well downfield up over the head of John Rebo, but way back on the full by the touch judge on the far side, so we'll have a scrum to go down some 38 metres out from the New South Wales goal line.
The New South Wales kicking game for the first 20 minutes of this match was spot on, and it was capitalised on by a good chase, but in the last few minutes our kicking game also has slid downhill, and we're suffering the effects of it and paying for it now.
Scrum to go down, and a penalty now awarded to who? The indications are to New South Wales this time. Incorrect feed by Murray, indicated by the referee. And I must say, I think he's having a pretty fair game, Gomersall, this evening.
The scrums are 2-0 in favour of New South Wales, and the penalties are 2-all, so I don't think we've got any cause for complaint at this stage.
No cause whatsoever now, as we see Chris Mortimer kicking for touch across to the newsstand here at the SCG, finding touch some 40 metres out from the Queensland line. Tap taken by Elias, given back to Roach. Roach takes it up an extra 5 metres or so, pulled down by Konescu. Elias at dummy half now. Good pass out to Peter Wynn. Charges forward, straightens up the attack. Fullerton Smith over the top and Dowling around the legs to pull the second rower from New South Wales down. Now Elias from again the back of the ruck takes off, but he's swamped by the defence of Queensland. He'll play at 30 metres out, 15 in from touch on the Paddington side of the ground. Back to Peter Wynn, and Vorton pulls him down just outside the Queensland quarter line. Steve Mortimer up into the dummy half roll, turns it back to Jarvis. Jarvis takes it up in a very strong run of 6 metres or so. 1 left to go centre field. The New South Welshman. It's back to Cleel across to Steve Mortimer, who puts a high kick up, and I think there's plenty of time for Yes, there is. Colin Scott goes up, easily takes that, no pressure whatsoever, runs it out 10 metres out from his own goal line.
The problem with that kick was simply a matter of it didn't go high enough. It wasn't quite in the air for long enough for our chasers to get through and put any pressure on Scott.
Queensland, 15 out from their own line. It goes to Murray, out to Meninga, and a very quiet game too, Mal Meninga this evening. He's put down on a good tackle by Peter Wynn. It's played back to Konescu once again and wrapped up by Wynn. Still 18 metres out centre field. He'll get up and play it.
But they're a disorganised outfit, Queensland. We had 3 players then in an offside position because they were waiting for the kick, and they were there for 2 play the balls, and finally Lewis realised it. The ball was stretched to his side. He had no option but to kick it.
Gary Jack in possession after that kick downfield has taken the ball up to within a metre of the halfway line on his own side of the field, played back to Eric Growth, and Lewis has to dive around his legs to pull him down. Plays it back to Elias. He gives it out to Roach. Roach charges forward, turns it back into the arms of Jarvis. Jarvis now back to Elias. Elias, a long pass, picks up Steve Mortimer. Out to Brett Kenny. Can he split him? He gives it back inside. It's picked up by Ferguson and knocked on.
Look out.
Then picked up by Mal Meninga. He pushes Steve Mortimer off. He turns it the outside to Shearer. It goes off a New South Wales shoulder into touch. So a scrum will go down just outside the New South Wales quarter line.
I thought Meninga turned that one the wrong way. He had 2 players on support in the inside, and there was only the one player, Chris Mortimer, coming across in cover defence from that side of the field. I'm sure had Meninga looked to the inside, it would have been a possible try for the Maroons.
Scrum to go down now, right on the New South Wales quarter line. Won by Queensland, straight out to Lewis, and Cole Scott into the attack now. He's pulled down by Wayne Pearce, still 24 metres out from the New South Wales line. Scott's hurt us. It goes across to Lewis, out to Close. Close tries to step away from the defensive Kenny, but he's right around the bootlaces. He plays it back to Meninga, centre field. The pass goes to Borton, steps off one leg. Keep going as he's pulled down now. Over the top was Roach. Oh, and a little punch went in there too. Right on his snout, Stephen Roach, and Fatty Borton has a look at him as it goes back to Lewis. He gives it on to Brown. Brown is swamped by the defence of New South Wales. Peter went over the top. Bone-crushing tackle, that one flat on the seat of his pants, 18 metres out from the New South Wales line. Konescu to Lewis, then given straight out into the arms of Bobby Linder and knocked over the touch, 10 metres out from the New South Wales goal line. Scrum to go down.
That was a good break by Queensland. They're taking every opportunity to move the ball out wide, and while they had a player down injured, it was Colin Scott. We might be able to get a report on that incident from our sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Well, Colin Scott's in a lot of trouble. It looks like his left knee, that last forage down the left-hand side there. He's in a lot of trouble, Scott.
Tony, there's another player too down for Queensland.
Yeah,
it looks like Bob Linder.
Bob Linder on the right-hand side. It looks as though Scott may be coming off. They've signalled for a stretcher here.
Well, that's going to be bad news for Queensland. Of course, they've got a replacement, and that replacement's Tony Curry, but fullback's a spot, particularly in a game like this, a State of Origin game, that no one would like to step into those boots.
Yeah, well, you know, when you have a look at this situation, Bill, with all due respects, the referee saw fit to stop the game. Obviously, this player...
Well, I thought he should have stopped the game earlier because the play was all around Curry.
Yeah, and they were in possession of the ball, but what I was going to say, he's obviously realised that the injury needs a treatment straight away. Otherwise, that scrum should have gone down, but nevertheless, he stopped the game, and we've got Queensland players, it looks like Gallipoli.
Well, Alf Richards, the New South Wales trainer, is out on the field, and he's treating Bob Linder because the Queensland trainer's got enough work to do treating the fullback Scott. But now we've got the ambulanceman and the stretcher on the field, and Scott is leaving the field, and he's going to be replaced by the young newcomer, Tony Curry.
Yeah, that is bad luck for Queensland because, as you said, that spot is very, very difficult to fill.
Tony McGay, can you give us some information on Tony Curry? He is going to fullback, is he?
Well, apparently he's going to fullback now. The situation is Chris Close just come to the sideline. He said Scott's done his medial ligament for sure. He's told Close that it's a ligament and a pretty bad one. He's in a lot of pain. I'd say, yeah, he's gone to fullback Curry.
Well, Curry's certainly in the hot seat.
Now the scrum goes down. Won by New South Wales, picked up very quickly by Steve Mortimer. Murray over the top of him to knock him down, 11 metres out from the New South Wales line. Plays it back to John Ferguson, tries to get mobile. Borton comes at him, he evades him. Now we have Linder around the legs to pull him down. Lewis over the top, quickly plays it back to Elias. A long pass, picks up Wayne Pearce. Borton around his legs, he can't offload it as Dowling comes over the top centre field, just over the quarter line. New South Wales end of the ground. It's played once again to Elias, to Roach, out to Peter Wynn, and Peter Wynn is swamped by Greg Konescu and pulled down 24 metres out from the New South Wales line.
Queensland are playing no one back in cover defence. Their fullback is particularly deep, waiting for the long kick, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see New South Wales use the chip kick over the top, allied with their long kicks. We've seen them try to use a clearing kick now, and Jack's knocked the ball on.
Well, the scrum now will go down centre field 14 metres out from the New South Wales line.
Very dangerous position, this one, for New South Wales. The last thing we want is Queensland to come up with a try and get on level terms with us with 9 minutes to go to half-time.
They've won this scrum. Murray in possession. Goes back to Dowling. Good pass across to Lewis. He's very dangerous here. Very strong player. Turns it back to Vorton. Vorton cuts one player out over to Meninga. He's not allowed to stand, but he offloads now. Back to Dowling. Oh, and an interception. Great intercept too by Johnny Ferguson. Off the pass of Dowling, which was meant to go to Johnny Rebo. Touch judge in New South Welshman. It's obviously against New South Wales.
Chris Mortimer, will you ever forgive yourself? I'll never know what happened to Chris Mortimer, but he did throw a blow at the number 13, Greg Dowling. New South Wales needed that ball desperately. We were just starting to ruck it out of our own quarter, and no doubt in my mind it's going to be a penalty to Queensland.
Well, as you said, you know, that's a stupid situation to be in. Penalty to Queensland, and the touch judge was right as Billy picked it up.
Sometimes you've just got to let your personal aspirations and what's happened to you privately not overcome what's the best thing for the team. And believe me, that wasn't the best thing for the side.
Okay, 8.5 minutes to go before half-time. Queensland now given the opportunity to go a little further ahead. The National Panasonic scoreboard reads New South Wales 12, Queensland 6, and a possibility of Queensland gaining an extra 2 points. This kick's going to be taken just outside the New South Wales quarter line, and Big Mal Meninga, he's certainly got enough power to plonk this one over. Whether he's got the direction remains to be seen.
He's got enough power. I think that Queensland would have seriously thought about keeping the pressure on New South Wales. There are only 8 minutes to go before half-time, and I suppose the sensible thing to do is to have a kick for goal, but it's all well and good to talk in hindsight, but if he doesn't kick this one, and Meninga would only be 50-50 from this position, then it would have been better if they'd have taken the tap and kept the pressure on. They had New South Wales on the back pedal.
Well, what can he do now? The New South Welshman will certainly relish possession in this situation, hoping that it doesn't go dead and they can run it out to give them that 6 tackles. As the kick goes up, oh, going. Oh, he's got the 2 points, spot on the mark. Well, the scoreboard now, New South Wales 12 and Queensland 8. They're coming to get you, Blues. You better get your act into gear now, fellas.
I suppose one of the features of the game has been the fact that this first half has been played in 2 separate halves within itself. In the first 20 minutes, New South Wales had all of the ball. They applied plenty of pressure. Their outside backs were able to finish off kicks and movements which were initiated in close by their half and captain Steve Mortimer. And then in the last 10 to 15 minutes of this half, it's all been the Maroons. The Maroons have stormed back into the match when many people thought they might have been ready to cave in. They certainly had other ideas, and with a little bit of possession now, they've fought their way back in. This game's probably 50-50 from this point.
Fullerton Smith now just outside his own quarter line, plays it to Konescu, straight out to Murray, onto Dowling, and a good strong run, steps away from one blue defender. Was Kenny. Very uncharacteristic for Kenny to miss it as it's played straight back to Konescu, given out to Brown, and he makes good ground to be 40 metres out from his own goal line. Playing the ball smack dab in the centre of the SCG. Back to Konescu. It's given out to Meninga. A change now onto Curry. Curry gets around our...
Hello, now we've got another kicker.
Yeah, Tony Curry, and he kicks over the top. Oh, and it's going to... not go over the touchline. To his credit, Eric Growth, a big tall man, reaches up high to gain possession for New South Wales. Now he's played it back to Gary Jack on the New South Wales quarter line. Jack comes away from the touchline, centre field, to be wrapped up by a good tackle over the top by Fullerton Smith. He'll play it back to Elias. He gives it out into the arms of Wayne Pearce. He tries to bust that line of defence from Queensland, but Paulie Vorton is right around the legs to pull him down.
And don't be surprised to see Mortimer use his chip here. There's no one back at all for Queensland apart from a very deep fullback.
Chris Mortimer now in possession, and he's the kicker on this occasion, forcing Curry and Rebo to turn and chase. Rebo now in possession on his own quarter line. Curry on the outside. Rebo gets around one and around Roach, but he's taken by Elias head on and knocked to the turf some 38 metres out from his own line. Plays it back to Curry. Good pass to Wally Lewis, centre field, and he has a look, and there's nobody home. Gary Jack's got to get down fast as Ferguson, and Ferguson's going to lose the chase, and the ball finds touch 15 metres out from the New South Wales goal line.
And that was a desperate situation for New South Wales. John Ferguson must have been in 2 minds whether to play at the ball and possibly come up with possession or not. He decided that discretion was a better part of valour. He let it go into the touch, over the touch line, which gives New South Wales the feed and the loose head from this scrum.
And they've
which
won it too. Ferguson in from the wing to take the first pass off Steve Mortimer from behind the back of the scrum, knocked down by Lewis. Plays it to Kenny, gives it out to Gary Jack. Storms forward, Vorton over the top. Good tackle to Murray around the legs to add that extra. Plays it back to Kenny, turns it across now to Jarvis. He'll take it down some 10 metres or so, which he does just outside the quarter line. New South Wales end of the ground. It's played back to Wayne Pearce, now out to Wynn. Wynn charges forward, and a great tackle again by Vorton around the legs. Boy, they're lucky those needles work, Pearly. There's no doubt about that. As the ball goes right back again to Chris Mortimer. Off a pass from Benny Eliason. Mortimer puts the ball down deep, comes off the shoulder of Curry.
I think we'll kick to him again.
Yeah, they're all onside too now, boys. It's an umbrella defence, and they're up, and they knock the Queensland full-back down just outside his own quarter line. First man into the tackle was Wayne Pearce. Now he plays it to Shearer. Comes across to the centre of the ground. Gains 6 metres or so, and again Elias around the legs. Pearce over the top. It's with Rebo. Rebo, very strong runner, but Ben Elias again straddles him over the top to pull him down centre field. 30 out from the Queensland line.
And there's only just 4 minutes to go before half-time, and we're entering that danger period when both sides are tired and vulnerable. We've got a scoreline on the National Panasonic scoreboard of 12-8 in favour of the Blues.
And Brown running very strongly down the centre of the ground, just short of the halfway line. He's knocked down with one tackle left to go. It goes back across now to Rebo, then on to Lewis, and again Lewis has a look downfield, places his ball beautifully between Eric Groth and Gary Jack. Groth first man to the ball, some 5 out from his own line. If he's got any power, he can start the wind up now, but again the defence very strong from the Queensland, and they're down there to knock him down. He plays it back to Steve Mortimer now, tries to get away from Wally. Too much pace, Wally, that one, as he gives it back to Cleel. Cleel goes around one, yes, and it was a Shepherd too, and Gomersall's right on the spot. And what do you say about that one?
Well, I'm not sure if it was a Shepherd. There's no doubt that Mortimer ran behind a player, but whether a Queensland defender would have got to him or not's another thing. It was Cleel. He ran behind Mortimer. There was a defender there. It was the number 12, Canescu. Gomersall's in a better position than we were. I'm certainly not going to argue with him. And this gives an opportunity for Meninga to post further points. It's 12-8 on the National Panasonic scoreline in favour of New South Wales with a penalty kick to come.
Yeah, it definitely was a Shepherd. There's no doubt about that. He was in... He impeded a defender coming through, and the Queenslander could have knocked him down. There's no doubt about that one. But now Meninga, again, another easy opportunity. 12 points to 8 in favour of New South Wales with this kick to come. More or less centre field, right on the New South Wales quarter line. And they'll be biting their nails down now there, the New South Welshmen, after giving away a silly penalty such as that. And what can Big Mal Meninga do with this one? Certainly an easy kick, Billy.
Well, it is an easy kick. It's a much easier attempt than the previous one he had, but I can remember when Meninga couldn't have thrown them over. He just had no form whatsoever. He's improved that this year, but he's missed that one.
Well,
and that is a bonus for us.
He has taken his time. He's done everything right. He's set it up, and he's missed it. Well,
it looked good, but it didn't get the 2 points.
Well, they can look good as long as they don't get the 2 points. Okay, back to the quarter line. Gary Jack getting up to take this 22-metre drop out. He does so now. A long kick deep down into Queensland territory, taken by Curry. On the outside of him is Dale Shearer, but he doesn't elect to Dale Shearer. Oh, and a swinging arm over the top by Stephen Roach. Misses its mark, thank goodness, as it goes to Dowling across to Murray. Murray shapes up, has a look back inside, offloads once again.
Neither Murray nor Lewis have done a great deal of running in this match. They've both been prepared to be links between their forwards and backs. They've kicked the ball, they've organised play, but I'm just waiting for them to explode. Maybe in the second half, if New South Wales hang off and do wait for them to kick, they're going to decide to do some running. If they do, look out.
Now Meninga caught up in a Stephen Roach tackle, not allowed to go to ground, but plays it back to Canescu, out to Dowling, and Dowling has got his legs chopped from under him by Wayne Pearce, right in the centre of the halfway line. It's played back to Canescu, holds it up for Lewis coming through. He makes a break, Lewis down the far side, and he's got Rebo on the outside. He has a look, Jeff, now he dummies again. Jerry Jack goes at him, but he's pulled out a metre out from the line. There was a great run. One tackle left now, a metre out. Rebo across to Murray. Murray has a look at the goal line. He can smell it, but he just can't get over. We've got a changeover of 6 tackles.
Well, we'd all been waiting for Lewis to run, and he elected to do so. He was given the opportunity by some feeble New South Wales defence. Our fellows have been holding off. He made the split, Lewis. He looked for support. He found support. Murray was the man who made a beeline for the try line, and it was only a tremendous tackle by New South Wales that stopped that 4-pointer.
Now we've got Steve Mortimer expected to get up and play this ball as sitting there. The referee is content to stand back to 5, has not ordered or stopped play at this stage. And that's most interesting. Hasn't gone in to see what's wrong with the player.
Well, as Steve Mortimer, I've got the benefit here of the television next to me, and Steve Mortimer's got a badly cut face. He's bleeding profusely, and play now has been stopped, and Steve's getting treatment from Alf Richards, and as well as the fact that Steve needs attention, this will give New South Wales a much-needed breathing space.
Well, the referee still hasn't decided to go down to him, but Mortimer's up. Acknowledges the referee as play goes on now, and he plays it straight back to Wayne Pearce. He gets away from Brown. Goes downfield some 10 metres or so before he's knocked down.
And I don't think New South Wales will want to spend too long here. They'll ruck it out for 3 or 4, use up what time they can and kick the ball downfield. And this might be a great opportunity for us to take a report from our sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Well, to all intents and purposes, it looked like stalling tactics from Mortimer there to give New South Wales a break, but he has got a pretty badly cut face.
Thanks very much, Tony, as New South Wales now continue to ruck the ball out of the danger zone.
Okay, and big Paddy Jarvis playing it back to Chris Mortimer, to Steve Mortimer. Gives it out to Brett Kenny. Can make a break from any part of the field, this place. But over the top was Linda to knock him down. Plays it back to Ferguson. Out to Michael O'Connor. He gets around one play. Gets a kick down. Oh, it's a beauty too, and fine touch. 35 metres out from the Queensland line, and it beat Gary Cole.
Well, there's the half-time siren, and the players are taking a well-deserved rest now with a scoreline of 12-8 in favour of New South Wales. The scrums and the penalties at this stage. New South Wales in the scrums leading by 4-2. The penalties 4-2 in favour of New South Wales. To my mind, this has been a tremendous game of football. As I'd already mentioned, it was a game played in 2 separate halves completely. In the first half of that first 40 minutes of play, it was all New South Wales. And then in the second segment of play, Queensland hit their way back into it. As I talk and look down onto the Sydney Cricket Ground, I can see Bob Linder, who was injured in that first half of play, still on the ground. He's receiving attention from the Queensland trainer and some of the Queensland players. I can see Dave Brown, Wally Lewis there calling for the stretcher. So this may be bad news for Queensland.
Well, Billy, I see him, the way he went through on the tackle, and O'Connor got around him, and then O'Connor kicked downfield. He continued through, then he stopped, and then went straight down. So there's a possibility he was either pulled a hamstring or he could have a knee injuries also.
Yes, and the coach Des Morris has gone out onto the field to get a report, and no doubt he'll be eagerly waiting the medical report on Bob Linder, the lock forward for Queensland. You've had Uninterrupted Rugby League brought to you in the first half by HFC Finance, Monia Metals Building Products, Pub Mart and Carlton United, the brewers of that tremendous 2.1 beer. All wonderful people to do business with. We'll take this break and come back for our half-time wrap-up.
Every lane's a fast lane. Everyone's in gear. Los Angeles, I can't explain, just know I'm staying here.
And staying with the Australian beer that's a worldwide star.
But the beer for my taste comes from another place.
And that's Foster's Lager, Australia's famous beer.
You know, Monia has been putting a roof over Aussie heads for nearly 50 years now. But did you know Monia Metal Building Products make top-notch metal roofing too? From traditional corrugated through to their new Colorbond sun deck, which looks great on today's modern houses and just right for extensions too, like carports, patios, rumpus rooms. You know, Colorbond, the colourful protective steel finish. So if you're looking to put a good roof over your head, phone 644 8888 now. It makes good Aussie sense to buy Monia Metal Roofing.
HFC Financial Services are backing homeowners like the Duncans.
It's great for anyone to know that if they want to do something, they can do it.
HFC was proud to help the Duncans attend uni while raising a family.
It was a chance for self-development.
When families like the Duncans set out to advance their quality of life, they can count on HFC. With an Equity Plus homeowner loan, HFC turns the idle value of your home into ready capital. If you're a homeowner working for a better future, we want to back you at HFC Financial Services.
They're popping up everywhere. Pub Mart Pubs, the hotel group that guarantees you great prices in the bottle shop and good times throughout. It's what you've been waiting for. Hey, watch it. Oh, and watch these great specials. There's Stanley Spring Gully Rhine Riesling at $3.09, Penfolds Club Port for $4.99 and Benine Moselle is just $2.19. Is your local pub a Pub Mart pub? No? Give it time. Pub Mart Pubs. Drop in soon and remember to make that one for the road a Swan Special Light.
Just let your love show with a diamond ring and let your love grow.
At Anita's, now is the time to buy and save forever. 9-carat rope bracelets were $99.50. Right now at Anita's, they're only $50. And matching chains are down from $250 to just $125. That's half price. Anita's, 13 stores around Sydney, where love flows like gold.
At Anita.
Welcome back to the SCG for the Winfield State of Origin Series, the second game. and we've got New South Wales ahead of Queensland by 12 points to 8. Well, Billy, your observations on the first half. We've hit the brick wall at this stage. They've got to come out a little stronger in the second half.
I'd like to be a fly on the wall in the New South Wales dressing room. After 16 minutes, we led by 12 points to 0, and then after 38 minutes, we were leading by 12 points to 8. And of course, that's the scoreline that we've got at half time. New South Wales did everything right. In the opening minutes of the match, I thought our kicking game was good, our defence was reasonably strong, and when we had the ball, we tried to do things with it. And then when we got our nose in front, it appeared as if New South Wales went to sleep. We couldn't do a thing right. Queensland started to hold the ball for their 6 tackles, and to be quite realistic, they dominated the play really, probably in the 12 minutes leading up to half time.
As we said earlier, and Wally Lewis hasn't cut loose at this stage, or has Mark Murray. I think Murray's had a couple of runs until very late in that first half when Lewis made that great run from halfway to be pulled down only a metre short of the line.
Well, they've both been content just to control play and to act as links between their forwards and their backs, and just before half-time, when Lewis decided that he was being given the space he needed to make a break, he made the most of it. He found support in the form of Murray inside, and it was only a great tackle by New South Wales that stopped us going in with our backs to the wall at half-time, because that would have equalised it, and I'm sure they would have made the very simple conversion to have a 14-12 lead. But there have been some good players on both sides. Who would you have in mind for your Anita Jeweller's man of the match?
Well, mate, I'm not prepared to say at this stage, but I thought in the first 20 minutes Brett Kenny took hold of the game. He made some very, very good runs, some good breaks. His tackling was absolutely superb. Toward the second 20 minutes of the first half, I thought he was a little slow. He didn't involve himself as much as he did in the first 20 minutes, but still we've got a fair bit to go. But I'd say that he would be well and truly up. As far as the defensive situation is concerned, there's no doubt about it. Wayne Pearce would be in line there. I don't think there's any better defender on the ground thus far.
Well, Kenny was tremendous, wasn't he, in the opening segment of play, but I'm just concerned that New South Wales have gone back into their shell. We threw everything at Queensland to open the match. We were prepared to try things, and then just before half-time, it was as if we weren't going to try anything. We kicked the ball, got the ball down into their quarter, but when we got there, we took the ball up one out. We didn't see the free-flowing movements that we had seen earlier in the match. Anyone from Queensland impressed you?
Well, so far I've been waiting for Mal Meninga to cut loose, but he hasn't. I think Bobby Linder, if there's any of the forwards there, I'd say Bob would be. Fullerton Smith is always a great defender, but I'd say Bobby Linder and Paul Vorton would be my pick at this stage.
Well, the way the scoring went in the first half was as follows. In the 10th minute, Chris Mortimer scored a try off a Steve Mortimer bomb, that was converted by Michael O'Connor to give New South Wales a lead of 6 points to 0. And then in the 16th minute, it was Benny Elias, after 3 successive runs by New South Wales from dummy half. Mortimer made a run from dummy half. It was a quick play the ball. Elias then went to dummy half. He threw the big dummy. He threw 2, as a matter of fact, scooted through and scored under the post. And, of course, Michael O'Connor converted that try also. And that was the end of the New South Wales scoring. In the 22nd minute, Bob Linder. Shearer made the break, turned inside to Murray. Murray on to Linder. Linder scored virtually adjacent to the post in the 22nd minute. And then Mal Meninga kicked that goal to make the score of 12-6 on the National Panasonic scoreboard. And then from a penalty in the 32nd minute, Mal Meninga kicked that penalty. It was after a caution was given to Chris Mortimer for a punch in the tackle, and that gave us a scoreline of 12-8, and that's the score that we went to Lemons with.
Mate, the Queensland side, now that we've got Tony Curry on in place of Colin Scott, who was carried off on the stretcher, and now we've got Bobby Linder. Bobby Linder.
Well, Bob Linder's in trouble.
That's right. Well, he was carried off on a stretcher, so we've got Ian French to take his place now. Now, Queensland have got a total 40 minutes to go without a reserve.
Well, we're assuming that that Linder's not going to be able to come back onto the field, but it'd be a medical marvel if he was able to come back onto the field.
What do you got to do? You're carried off on a stretcher. I mean, you're down and out in that situation. If he comes back, he can't do a JC off a stretcher, champ.
He might do a Greg Hartley. I remember when you used to fall over in goal and bounce up and get back and so on.
Yeah.
But if French has got to come onto the field, you're correct in saying that Queensland are going to have no replacements for this second segment of play, and that's going to be a big problem for them, because should their coach Des Morris, even if it's not an injury, see that someone's tired and he'd like to get them off the field, and they've got a fairly big pack, and it may well be they are going to tire in a game played at this pace. He's got no alternative. He's going to have to finish with the 13 that start this second half.
Well, you know, when you've got a situation to have the class of Steve Ella sitting on the sidelines for New South Wales, and it would be to his great delight if he was sent into the game, say, 20 minutes or 15 minutes into the second half when the Queenslanders are tied, and a fresh man, particularly the capabilities he's got, of being the zip-zip man standing off left and right, and has got the pace, because I don't think any of these wingers, Shearer or Rebo, could run the zip-zip man down if in fact he can get away.
Exactly, and of course that's the story of the first half. New South Wales leading by 12 points to 8, and in the preliminary game, the New South Wales versus Queensland under-18s that was played as the curtain raiser to the main game, it was a win to New South Wales. They won that match by 14 points to 6. Tries to Steve Antonelli, their winger, who scored 2 tries, and a goal to Terry Maddison, and another try to Glenn Rogers, who was their replacement player. In Queensland, 6 points was made up of a goal to Darryl Shaw and a try to Rowan Teevan. So a win to the Blues in the curtain raiser, and we're leading by 12 points to 8 in the National Panasonic scoreboard in the main game.
Well, Billy, we'll go back to the studio for a wrap on the sponsors, and we'll bring you the second half live. You're listening to I was going to say rugby league preview, but I suppose half-time rugby league at the SCG on 2GB News Talk 87.
Every lane's a fast lane. Everyone's in gear. Los Angeles, I can't explain. Just know I'm staying here.
And staying with the Australian beer that's a worldwide star.
But the beer for my taste comes from another place.
And that's Foster's Lager, Australia's famous beer.
They're popping up everywhere. Pub Mart Pubs, the hotel group that guarantees you great prices in the bottle shop and good times throughout. It's what you've been waiting for. Hey, watch it. Oh, and watch these great specials. The Seppel Solero range for only $2.29, Brown's Bin 60 Hermitage is just $3.29, and Holt's Buff Label Scotch for $11.49. Is your local pub a Pub Mart pub? No? Give it time. Pub Mart Pubs. Drop in soon and remember to make that one for the road a Swan Special Light.
HFC Financial Services are backing Steve Georgio.
The more I can learn, the better off I'll be.
The pride Steve takes in his job rubs off on his fellow technicians.
We've all got a lot of personal motivation, and it does make you strive harder.
There's a confidence about Steve that never quits. And it's people like him that HFC is backing with personal loans, fast confidential service, and manageable repayment plans. If you're working for a better life, you're the sort of person we want to back at HFC Financial Services.
You know, Monty has been putting a roof over Aussie heads for nearly 50 years now. But did you know Monty Metal Building Products make top-notch metal roofing too? From traditional corrugated through to their new Colorbond sun deck, which looks great on today's modern houses and just right for extensions too, like carports, patios, rumpus rooms. You know, Colorbond, the colourful protective steel finish. So if you're looking to put a good roof over your head, phone 644 8888 now. It makes good Aussie sense to buy Monia Metal Roofing.
Just let your love show with a diamond ring and let your love grow.
Now's the time to buy and save forever at Anita's. You'll be stunned by a sapphire and 14 diamond cluster Lady Dialogue ring because Anita's have knocked down the price from $1,100 to just $550. And an 11 diamond cluster duet is only $225 now at Anita's. 13 stores around town.
At Anita.
Welcome back to the Sydney Cricket Ground. Bill Anderson filling in for Peter Peters, and of course I'm with Greg Hartley, and we're bringing you uninterrupted rugby league courtesy of HFC Finance, Pub Mart, Liquor Outlets, Carlton 2.1, the brewers of that tremendous beer, and also Monia Building Products. We've got a scoreline of 12-8 in favour of New South Wales. Everything was looking fairly rosy for the first 25 minutes of the game, and of course then we went into our shell. We've let Queensland back into the game, but there have been some good performances on both sides. I'm just a little disappointed that the New South Wales defence didn't hold tight in that last segment of play, but the Maroons are certainly storming home.
Yeah, they've got their backs up now with 8 points on the board, Bill. I thought we had them well and truly down in that first half, but to their credit, they've come back. They're making a game of this.
In the first half, Greg, the defence, Vorton made 13 tackles for Queensland, Fulton Smith 10 and Canescu 10, and for New South Wales, Pearce leading the defence as we'd expect with 16 tackles, Wynn 14 and Elias 12. So the defence has been fairly well shared amongst the forwards from both sides.
Yeah, well, they've got to defend out here. It's of paramount importance. If they don't, the way these fellows are running, I would imagine that they're just going to run over the top, but they've got to stick at their guns.
And we'll take this opportunity. Tony McGay, our live eye, has been to the dressing rooms, and he can give us a report.
Our live eye.
Both Colin Scott and Bob Lidner will be out of business for Queensland. I was talking to Scott. He's been told that he's got medial ligament damage. He said he heard a crack when he went down in that tackle. Now, Lindner's in a lot of pain. It's his right knee. He was going full bore towards the New Zealand trip, I'd say, Linder. I thought he was their best forward, but he won't be back. He's got a right knee problem too, so there's a lot of disruptions from the Queensland side. New South Wales are okay.
Tony, do you think that French will go into the lock forward position?
Well, I'd say so at this stage. Of course, Curry's at fullback. He looks pretty dicey to me. They've got a lot of problems, Queensland. I'm not really sure what he'll do with French, but he's got to switch the team around a good bit. They're in a lot of trouble now.
Well, Des Morris is going to have a problem, isn't he? As the second half progresses, he's got no replacements to use, so he's stuck with the 13 that run on for this second half, regardless of injuries, tiredness or whatever.
Well, that's exactly right. I'm a little bit surprised in their tactics. They're trying to take pressure off Lewis because of the harassment in that first encounter. So they've got Meninga kicking. Also, Murray's had a pot, Dowling and also Vorton, but they don't seem to have any direction of just exactly who's going to do it and at what time, because on occasions Lewis's kicks have been charged down. New South Wales, Fernley's got 2 men coming at him. Pearce has one, and they've put him off a little bit in that area.
Johnny, it would be feasible that Vorton be the fellow that would go back into the lock forward position and French go into the second row. That's where Fatty plays most of his football.
Yeah, well, it looks
club level.
Well, it looks that way. Of course, Fatty is a specialist lock.
That's right. Okay, Tony, thanks very much for that. Well, the cheers have gone up. The Blues are about to come back onto the ground. As they come through, we're just looking to see if, in fact, either Peter Tunks or Steve Eller is going to replace any of the first 13 that took the field. And all I can see is dirty blue jumpers at this stage, not a clean one amongst them. So I would imagine that both Tunks and Eller still have a reprieve and have yet to be mentioned. But the Queensland side, as we said earlier, we've got Tony Curry in that fullback position in place of Colin Scott, who has a crook knee, and also Bobby Linder in the last 5 minutes of the first half also has gone down with possibly medial ligament damage, and Ian French has taken his position.
And as the New South Wales players file back onto the field, they've got to make a decision to take the bit between their teeth and start this second half as they started the first half. If New South Wales can score next in this match, I think they'll be able to sew it up. But if Queensland can get their nose in front, if they can score again and they get a sniff of victory, they're going to be very hard to stop.
Well, now the Queensland side coming out. I'm just looking for the 2 replacements. See Tony Curry, yes, and there he is, number 15, Ian French. So it'll be very interesting to see just where Fatty Vorton puts his head in the next scrum that goes down.
I've been somewhat disappointed with Wally Lewis's first half. I thought that he played fairly good in the opening State of Origin game, and I wasn't one of the people that detracted from his performance. But in this second game, I think that he's been reasonably quiet. His kicking game hasn't been good. His defence has been nothing more than average. And it was only in the last few minutes before half-time that he decided to cut loose and to put some pressure on New South Wales. I think now that Queensland have lost 2 players, that Lewis has got to make a decision, that he's the one that's going to do something about winning this game. He's got to get in and call the ball 1 and 2 off the ruck, and he's got to run with it.
Okay, back in the centre of halfway now, about to get it underway. Gomersall just asking the New South Wales side, are you all ready to go? And we've got Meninga waiting to get it underway. Now he's talking to Lewis, blows his whistle, and game underway with Meninga. A kick deep down as the big sirens go off and the cannons go off straight down to Gary Jack. He immediately kicks back downfield. All New South Wales offside, not now because Meninga's run 5 metres. He's taken by Jarvis and knocked to the turf just a shade over the halfway line. In New South Wales territory, he plays it straight back to Fullerton Smith. It goes across to French. French is going to be knocked down. Can't get it back into the arms of Canescu. Eventually, it was Jarvis over the top to do the job.
I don't think Gary Jack's a big enough kicker of the ball to handle that role for New South Wales. He fielded that kick on his own quarter line, put the boot to it, and Queensland retrieved it on the halfway. If we are going to kick, I think it's got to be Noel Cleal with his trusty right boot that boots the ball downfield for us, and then we give a good chase. Now we can see Queensland now on the attack through Canescu.
Oh, he give a good pass back inside to Canescu, has been knocked down by Roach. He plays it back to Rebo. Goes across to Dowling, out to Lewis. Good pass now out to Meninga. They're spreading the ball wide. He holds it up. He gives it back inside to the big fella, Dale Shearer. He turns it then back to Curry, and Curry is knocked down on the far side of the ground, inside the Blues quarter line. Plays it back to Meninga again. Goes across to Lewis. He puts pressure on now with a high kick up. Gary Jack hasn't taken his eyes off it. They're up for it. It's been knocked back. Oh, Fullerton Smith chasing it over to the sideline. But Johnny Ferguson got there first. He's only about 2 metres out from his own line. He dives on the loose ball. Wayne Pearce at dummy half. Runs it out some 2 metres or so. Taken head on by Lewis and swamped over the top by Canescu. He plays it back to Elias. Gives it out to Jarvis. Jarvis takes it up to within 10 metres of his own line. Again over the top was Brown. He plays it once again, back to Elias, then out to Roach, turns it back to Elias. He's got Jack on the inside, can't get his pass away. Brown goes over the top. 15 out now from the Queensland line. We've got the touch judge in once again, and there's
We've got
fight.
an altercation in the back play. I think it's Jarvis and Dowling.
Jarvis and Roach it is. No, it's, sorry, Roach and Dowling. Yeah, Jarvis and Roach. Queensland are on a New South Welshman. The touch judge got in there very quickly. Gomersall just stood his ground, and he's broken it up. He'll listen to the touch judge's report now.
Well, there's 5 minutes in the sin bin for Steve Roach and for Greg Dowling. Gomersall's decided that the way he's going to settle it is just get rid of the problem.
Well, he did that very quickly. He didn't even listen to the touch judge's report before he sent them off. Now, that's very strange. Obviously, he'd made up his mind. He didn't need to hear the report before he gave him the 5 minutes.
Not only that, he's let New South Wales play the ball.
Yeah, well, that's a very strange decision. They're on the last tackle now. No penalty there as Elias at dummy half. He gives it straight back into the arms of Chris Mortimer, who gets a towering torpedo kick right down across into the arms of Johnny Rebo. He's got Curry on the outside.
We've got to make the first up tackle here. To my mind, as an ex-coach, the first up tackle you make after a kick, that's worth 2 or 3, and that's not the case. We've let Rebo make a break down the left-hand side of the field. Poor defence by New South Wales. We've got to get our mind on the job and make these first up tackles.
Rebo now, as the ball is kicked through in the play, the ball back to Meninga. 6 more ruled. Fullerton Smith goes through, and again he's pulled down on a good tackle by Kenny. He plays it back to Konescu, centre fielder Dave Brown straightens up the attack. Brown's allowed to run 20 metres or so before we get Jarvis going over the top.